Hello, Mac.
Hello. Hi, Nat. Hi,
So
everyone.
I'm Natalie, and this is Mac.
And I'm Mac.
And we have decided to record a conversation to share a little bit more about us, about how we've got here, a little bit about vertical development, and kind of explore our own experience together in the hope that it will be useful to others who are thinking about, if you are thinking about embarking on this journey with us. Um, yeah, and it might be a good idea to just start by locating ourselves and doing an intro and sharing a bit about how we got here.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mac, do you want to go first?
Sure. Let's see. So, my name is Mac Ling. I'm an executive coach. I'm living between Hong Kong and Thailand at the moment, so I find myself on a plane quite a bit these days. Um, let's see. And where am I right now? I feel like I'm in a funny I'm in a funny place in my life. It feels like a place of transition and a place of change. And I'm in the transition and the change. So it
Mm.
feels uncertain and it feels like I've used the word rudderless at times. I know that there's movement, but I'm not sure always where the directionality is. But it does feel like I'm happy with the movement. And I'm happy with the way things are going. Yeah. And I think I'm excited about embarking into some of these new places and doing this next chapter with you and as we open up this new program um, and get to start to work together with someone. I think in the last 9 years of my career, I've really worked on my own, and so it's been a very uh, solitary journey. And so part of the thing that's quite exciting for me right now is um, getting to work closely with people and to walk with people.
What you just shared reminded me of I haven't sent it yet, but I'm about to send out a newsletter, and I haven't done that for 3 years. And so, and a lot has changed in the last 3 years. And what I wrote in it was that sometimes we're like the fire element, where we're kind of out there and we're sharing and we're very visible and clear and connecting with others. And sometimes we're like wood, where not much seems to be happening on the outside, but there's lots kind of happening on the inside and changing shape. And it kind of made me think of that when you shared where you are. It sort of feels like you're blending both of them, fire and wood.
I never thought about
Um,
changing shape internally, but you're right. It
yeah,
does.
well, it kind of does, but it's just very slowly, right? So you can't kind of see it to the naked eye. It's more of a slower, quieter process.
Mm.
Um, what do I want to share? I think I'm coming out of a period of being wood like, and yeah, definitely feeling a lot more kind of fire energy. And it's summer here in Hong Kong as well, so it feels very kind of lots of yang fire energy. Um, yeah, and I've been through a lot of change as well. Definitely resonate with that. And but feeling more clarity, actually, feeling a lot of clarity and energy and motivation and um, uh, passion and groundedness. So that feels quite good, and it certainly hasn't always been that way. So it feels good to feel that right now.
And so maybe an easy place to start. We've been both finishing this course, and we both finished this diploma in vertically developmental coaching. And the question that came to my mind is, what's been different as you're coming out of this? And I think on top of whatever change you've been going through, right? Like what do you feel like? How's that been changing your coaching, and how's that been changing um, your outlook or your view on life?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why we chose to record this, because we've been talking about this for probably the last several months, and integrating what we've been learning, and it's definitely still kind of emerging. But I think what's changed for me, I think what's unique about this program is there's so many elements to it that have a subtle impact of transformation. And one is relooking at the models of coaching, the kind of the more theoretical elements of coaching. And one of the frameworks that we use, that we explore in the program, is the clear model, which for me gives a lot more freedom, be in co-inquiry, co-creation with my clients. So there's been a sense of freeing, actually, that I've felt since doing the program. So that's one thing. The other is I've really felt so one of the things I explored in my coaching triad. So on the program, you'll be split into triads, and you get the opportunity to coach each other from a vertical developmental perspective. And one of the things I was kind of kept coming up as a theme was this notion of me-ness, not meanness. And really, how do I kind of have the courage and to bring all of me to my coaching, rather than being the coach, and yeah, kind of being able to use myself as an instrument, and also offer a very, yeah, I don't really know how to describe it, like natural, I guess, naturalness. And so that's something that's really emerged for me and almost given me the permission to be me, um, but in a very discerning way. So it's not just like, hey, this is obviously the coaching is about my client, and their journey, but I can support them with the whole of myself. So I think that's been another big part of it. And community, being in community of people who are really thinking differently and are very curious and can have quite in-depth, I don't really know the word, but in-depth exploratory conversations about this work and about how we show up and what it is that we're doing here as coaches. So kind of being able to zoom out to the kind of micro of one-to-one and looking at the bigger picture of what we're doing here as coaches and how it's evolving. So that's that. I could probably keep going, but I'd love to hear what's come up for you.
Yeah, when you shared about the meanness, it really brought up a conversation I was having with a client a few days ago, and we're in a session together, and I do feel that, like, I think both of us were fully, like, just laughing out loud about, some of the things that had happened in her past, uh and it was strange because it's like I allowed myself to be the coach that's been with her for the last 7 years. And so there's this guide. It's I don't know how to there's this guide feeling, but it's like, come on, seriously, like, and I can bring myself into that and not have to be the guide who's standing there. It's like, how come, and be very stiff, and I can just really allow, like, me to come through, and that felt, yeah, it's like we've been doing this a long time, and it's so wonderful. There's an acknowledgement of the progress, and also just this lighthearted playfulness that I think earlier in my coaching it felt, I don't know, unright to do. So that definitely resonates with me. I think the other thing that really resonated with me, and we both read this book, with the worst title, "Coaching and Mentoring:
Critical text.
A Critical Text" by a lovely man named Simon Western. And while the name is really dry and quite boring, the text actually is quite good. And one of the things that really perked up my ears and made me really want to go and buy and invest in the book was this acknowledgement of the 4 different types of discourse that we can have as coaches. Um,
Mm.
and he talks about in his language a soul guide discourse. And when I heard that and read that about how we are there to walk with and to be with our clients, it really deeply resonated, and it really helped me, I think, start to accept that the work that I do doesn't need to be focused in a very ICF way. I cannot talk about this and I can't talk about this. And we can talk a little bit more later, but as you know, I was trained in doing trauma work and therapy work, and I always felt like that was very off limits. And whereas in this soul guide discourse that Simon Western brings up, you can really start to think about, well, how am I serving my clients without the boundaries of time? That has been also very freeing in terms of how I think about how I show up, how I am walking, yeah, with my client. And I think in a strange way clarifies the intention and the purpose for me. And it's weird that having more freedom clarifies the purpose, but yeah, that's how I feel it.
The four discourses, and I'm going to maybe name them incorrectly, but soul guide, manager in role,
Mm.
or role, psycho, like the psychological kind of perspective, and eco, right? Eco kind of coming from exploring the individual or the leader's experience within the systems that they operate in, the relational systems. So being able to expand out to the bigger picture. And what I really love about that is being able to move between those different discourses as a coach and know when that's happening. And that can happen in one session, I find sometimes. Or it can happen over the course of a relationship with a client, which I find often you start kind of in one discourse and it leads to another. And I've certainly had experiences where I might start off with the in role. So what is it? So often, a lot of my clients are transitioning to, or they've just transitioned to a new role. So they're trying to figure out who they are now in this new position, often a promotion or a bigger role. And so we start there, and actually we may go into a more soul guide exploration, and then we might come out of it and go into an eco, more systemic exploration. So it's having the ability to move between those different discourses, and often, I'm not necessarily thinking about it in the moment, but I'm aware of it, and I can look back and see how I've flowed between them. Yeah, I don't know if you find that too.
Yeah. Actually, when you're talking, what it brings up for me is it's actually the extreme amount of discomfort I felt when we first started the program, because, and I think the words that I used maybe a year ago were like, I was taught a way to coach so that I could earn a living. And I
Mm,
learned how to earn a living using this way of coaching. And so even though I was doing all this professional development, it was all building on the same pillars that I learned on. Even the Gestalt work was still based in a very, you know, grow model type of a way, it felt like. And so then we started this program, and there's this like step back of like, what if there's a different framework that we're going to start speaking about? And this is the Peter Hawkins clear model. Um, and I was like, wait, what is this? I, oh, and I have to let go of the thing that has been, you know, powering my entire livelihood for the last 10 years to
mm,
take on something new that feels very, very nebulous and vague. Yeah, there were the discomfort, and to even talk about that there are four different discourses that have nothing to do with, you know, the grow framework and being very clear about where you want to go. Um, yeah, that disorientation and the unlearning process was quite painful, I would say. Um,
mm.
and I remember that. that confusion
I
very,
remember it too, yeah.
very deeply.
And I think this is what's interesting is our journeys have been quite different. And I want to come back to that in a minute, but how is that integrating for you now? You know, since moving through that discomfort towards the beginning of the program, like how is it? Where are you now with that?
It's funny as I am a coach who works with leaders in transition, and I talk about you know the mindset you need of the person that needs to emerge, the mindset of the person that was, the letting go, and in my head, I know how to do it, and I know how to coach someone through it, and I've done it before. I know what to expect, and each time, it's still painful, and so even recognizing the fact that okay, I have to let go of this thing to get to this new destination, and knowing that the liminal space is hopefully shorter than a short experience rather than a long experience. And I do feel like I have, yeah, I've connected the two points now, and I've come out very different. And there's a much deeper acceptance of sitting with what is. There's a much deeper
Mm,
acceptance of encouraging my client to sit with what is, and
mm,
and to do less. I think that's part of what is coming through is that noticing more and doing less. Maybe is a
mm.
nice way to.
I love that. Noticing more and doing less. I think when you first train as a coach in a kind of conventional way, part of it is that you're learning to respond to what's emerging. Um, but it's kind of in a quite a tightly controlled way. We're on this journey to get you somewhere, to achieve a goal, and I can kind of respond to what is emerging within that. Whereas I think part of what this program does creates more of a comfort within myself to really respond to what's emerging on a much bigger, broader, perhaps deeper scale. Yeah.
Yeah, and and maybe that it's a good point to I think talk about this noticing what's happening on a larger, deeper scale. And I think one of the things that I noticed when we're in a lot of these courses and in the classes, we would do a lot of these inquiries, which ended up turning into like these philosophical, esoteric conversations about life uh, and the meaning of life. I don't know if we talked about the meaning of life, but it felt very theoretical at
Mm.
times. And the doer in me is like asking this like, what's the point of all of this? And yeah, I'm curious,
What
how you think about what the point is, or I don't know if there needs to be a point, but
well
those
the
are the
question that comes up for me as I hear you say that is, what's the doer in you thinking now?
that the conversation is the point, and we will only know what's inside if we have the conversation. But without having the conversation, then it's just sort of this murky, like,
Yes.
who knows, right? I actually had to take a position in this conversation where we talked about, I don't know, the meaning of religion, because I never told anybody before. I just, had my own random thoughts about it and never coherent. But
Mm,
because I was given this chance to sit in a conversation and participate in a conversation, I got to I got to listen to my own understanding of it and then also formulate a position that
mm,
I thought that could be helpful too.
yeah. And I think this comes back to the the notion that we talk about with this program of knowing your stance. And for me, that is quite hard to describe, but it's being able to explore some of this inner tension that we have as human beings, so that not so that we can show up with an opinion, but that we can show up with kind of greater clarity and comfort within ourselves to hold multiple perspectives. And clients feel that. Clients, I think, feel that. And I think that also prospective clients feel that too. So I find that when I'm meeting potential new clients, and usually it's an HR person or a head of talent, and I'm finding that a greater comfort in my stance and also a language. The developmental lens really provides a language of growth, especially within leadership, which helps who I'm speaking to understand a bit more about the journey that we might take our clients on. But there is something there about that stance that we can be in conversation with, that is quite settling. I don't know if you have a better word, but settling, comforting, clear.
It feels like confidence,
Yeah.
that like what you're saying, and that's very calming.
And it's not performative confidence. It's not, I'm going to put on a show.
Right.
And it's not coming from knowledge. It's not. It's a deeper confidence. Yeah. I'm aware that we've been chatting for quite a while, and we haven't talked yet about kind of the action logics, and I'm wondering maybe if we save that for another conversation.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This has been interesting.
Yeah, so good.
I hope it's useful.
Yeah.
To those listening and watching.
And if you have questions, send us a question, and we'll talk about it. But we'll see how many more of these we make. But yeah, thank you, everyone.